Welcome back to the latest episode of the Key and Mang audio experience. I'm your host, Mang, as always. I'm with my fellow co-host, Key. Key, what's good?
What's up, May? How are you?
I am good. No complaints from me. On the show today, we have an Anchorage legend, the founder and CEO of 907 Agency, a digital marketing company that delivers results to brands, creators, and musicians. He started out creating one of the biggest homecoming events in Howard University history and used those skills, experiences, and relationships to work with some of the biggest names and brands in the world, including going on tour with Kanye, Tony Williams, and partnering with companies such as Microsoft, Xbox, and the LA Kings, just to name a few. David, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hop on the pod and wanted to start it off with life growing up in Alaska and how it helped you grow into the person you are today.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. What's funny is I actually don't I've done probably I've only done one podcast ever. This is the second podcast I'm doing because I don't really like doing these types of things necessarily. But of course, talk about life growing up in Alaska, even just knowing you and everything and wanting to do more podcasts, and a lot of people have reached out to me and everything, but I wanted to definitely make sure to jump on and do an Alaska podcast first. So I reached back out to you when I realized that we could go ahead and get this going. So super happy to be on here.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you making us your second podcast feature. But what was life like growing up for you out here in Anchorage, and what did you learn from how to help develop you into who you are?
So growing up in Anchorage, I I had probably like five best friends, and of these best friends, it was funny because I would try to learn a lot from every single person I hang around. And some of my friends' parents were multimillionaires. Some of my friends' parents didn't really have it like that. What I really saw is that growing up, my parents, like at any point in time, my mom was working. I think at one point in time, she was literally working four jobs at the same time, at least three for sure. Then my dad was always also working as well. And what I saw is that life isn't necessarily just working as many hours as possible or working as hard as possible. It's about who you're connected with, who you know, who knows you, and what value you can add to people and how people can place value on that. So with that, I feel like I was able to gain some interesting insight that showed me, number one, it's important to move strategically in terms of making money. But in addition to that, it's also very important to treat everybody well, because my parents and everything weren't necessarily the most financially well off. But on that same token, I wouldn't want anybody to ever treat them poorly or treat them any different than somebody would treat the next person. In addition to that, of course, growing up around a lot of good friends such as yourself and a number of other people, it's really just a situation to where the company name is 907 Agency, obviously because 907 is Alaska's area code. And with that, I really feel like I was raised by the community as opposed to just my family. So I like it that whenever the company gets an accolade or whenever we have something good that's going on, it's not just myself being saluted or it's not just the company being saluted, but I feel like it's the whole state really getting that quick little spotlight or that shine on it.
No, I think that's dope because I think I remember when you first started the agency, and I was like, he could have called it anything, but remember where like to want to salute where you come from and what kind of helped mold you to grow into becoming the person that you are today. I think is dope, and you don't forget where you come from, and I think that's mad, and the people that helped you come along the way. So then, when you're making your decision to go, what went into your decision to go to Howard?
So growing up, I was super big on basketball. Came from a basketball family. One of my brothers is in the Hall of Fame at the University of Alaska, Anchorage. My brothers and sisters played D1 sports, all different things. My dad played D1 football. With this, like my whole goal was to play basketball. I wanted to go to college and play basketball. And I saw that Howard's team wasn't that great. And my parents really wanted me to go to an HBCU because my other one of my brothers, I'm the youngest of seven. One of my brothers who didn't go to college for sports went to Howard, and he was excelling in business, and he was getting internships with LeBron's company. He's getting internships with KPMG, all these different crazy companies. And so my parents were like, yo, you have to go to Howard. And at the start, I wasn't I wasn't very happy about it at all. But then again, like I said, I looked up their basketball team and I was like, their basketball team isn't good, so I could probably be a walk-on there. So I was way more happy about that. And then I finally got to Howard, and literally by like the first like by the end of like week 1 or week 2, I saw that for sure it was the right decision for me, and I felt at home there. It felt great to be there, and obviously now looking back on it, I wouldn't have wanted to go anywhere else but that. But yeah, my whole goal is I wanted to go there, be able to walk on, play basketball, and then when it came down to time to go ahead and have basketball tryouts at Howard, they were saying that they were just going to have tryouts for the JV team. I was like, JV team, and I didn't even know that colleges had JV teams. Like I was super blown, and in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute, so our team isn't good, and on top of that, they want me to play for the not good team for a team that isn't good. And so I was just super sick. And I was hurt. But literally that day that I found out that I couldn't even try out for the actual team, that day is when I went home. And I went home. I was super sick that night. And the next day I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna start something that's gonna affect people or make an impact or change the world in some type of way. So that next day I actually woke up and I went on LegalZoom.com and I filed the paperwork to start a nonprofit to help inner city youth get into college. But that was actually the first business that I started, and I started it the day after I learned that there wasn't going to be any type of tryouts for the main basketball team at a school that wasn't even good or known for basketball. Not that I was the best. I mean, I'm 6 foot, and I was honorable mention all conference in my senior year and everything, but I was just blown that I wouldn't even have an opportunity to really jump out and do my thing.
What happened with the non-for-profit?
So with the nonprofit, that was crazy because with that nonprofit, we started to get a couple like crazy opportunities. Like probably like 2 or 3 weeks into us starting it, a woman named Kitty Lansdale had connected with us, and she was super like enthusiastic about what it is that we wanted to do because we were young black kids and we were trying to do something to help other young black kids get into college. And I'm assuming, but she was super happy about what it is that we wanted to do. So she had some type of gala with Hillary Clinton at the time, and companies and businesses and people were paying $20,000 for tables to go to her gala, and she gave us a whole table for free. So we went to this table, and so we're there with all these people that have all this money and money to waste and all these different things. Not even, excuse me, not money to waste, but money to they have disposable income if they're able to spend that type of money on those types of things. And just seeing that, like, wow, just because of who we are and because of what we want to do, somebody wants to invest into us and invest into our cause and give us these type of opportunities. That was really eye opening. And actually what's funny is um we did a couple events, and like we spoke at a couple of like youth prisons and things like that. And now the nonprofit isn't around anymore because at the time like it was just too expensive to keep it running and everything. But because it was known that I had filled out and filed the paperwork in order to go ahead and start that nonprofit, that's what actually led to the opportunity of me throwing that first party that we discussed where it trended worldwide. Because the person that stayed in the college dorm next to me, in the dorm room next to me, he had started promoting a party on Twitter right after Project X came out. And so he started promoting a party called Project HU. And he was promoting this party, promoting this party, promoting this party, and it was trending nationally like every week. But he didn't have a venue and he didn't have any contracts. He didn't have insurance. He wasn't in touch with the fire marshal or any of these things. And so he came over to me in my dorm room next door, and he was like, "Hey, I saw that you had the tools and the resources to be able to start a nonprofit. Do you think that you'd be able to fill out the paperwork and figure out like on the back end logistically how to put together a party and how to throw a party of this magnitude?" So started out with the nonprofit, and then that's how that led into me doing that first party. But it's crazy in life how everything ties together and how everything comes together.
So then you're trending for that week globally. And then what is the opportunity to host and promote that party? What does that turn into for you moving after that?
Yeah, so actually, so the party was trending, like it was trending in DC and it was trending nationally for it was trending weeks, like for weeks straight. Like we kept promoting it, and every day it would go on and trend regionally, nationally, trend locally, nationally. But it wasn't until the actual day of the party that we did trend worldwide. But when that happened, um, we got an opportunity for record label started to reach out. The board administration, who was the record label that was representing Wale at the time, because he's based out in DC, they had seen what we were able to do, so they had reached out and they were like, "Hey, come intern with us, come help us, come help our artists to grow on Twitter." And then other just independent artists and independent people started to reach out, like, "Hey, can you help us with our Twitter? Can you help us with our social media?" Because of course, this is before Instagram, before I mean, I guess like Facebook is popping at the time, but this is even before like the term like influencer was really a thing, because this is back in 2011. So so record labels started to reach out, and then we started to work with them, and I got those internships. So then I took that two different routes. Number one, I then got an internship with Warner Music Group and Atlantic Records, and I was their college rep out in DC, and so I was working with all the different musicians that were in their college rep program. And then in addition to that, I started a company to where I was charging people $99 a month to get them more followers on Twitter. And that company ended up like taking all my money because I was spending money on servers and being able to keep the service up and running for people. But but if people don't see the return on investment of getting more followers, like granted they were gaining more followers, but people didn't see the return on investment of their $99 a month. So we would get customers that would get on and they'd stay on for like 2 or 3 months and they'd get off because they didn't see the value. So with that company ended up kind of going down a few years later. But around that same time the company went down because it was just too expensive to run. Um, I had gone out to South by Southwest with one of the labels I was working with, and when I was out at that music festival, um, the record label that had flown me out there actually they ditched me. I was 20 years old. I wasn't old enough to get into any of the clubs out there, or any of the clubs or events or performances out there alone because I wasn't 21. And they were like, "Hey, meet me at this location at 6 o'clock, and then we're gonna walk you into the venue with our artist that's performing this day, so you'll be good." And I was like, "All right, cool." So I get there at like 5:40. I hit them up like, "Yo, I'm here." They didn't text me back. 5:50, "Hey, I'm here." 5:55, nothing. 6:05, 6:15. I'm like, dang, I just got ditched. I'm all the way out here in Austin, Texas. Don't know anybody. I'm not old enough to get into anything. Like, this is trash. And so I just started walking up the street, and then I was walking by this one venue that's called Bat Bar, and I was like, all right, this is a bar. I'm definitely not old enough to get in, but I'm gonna just try it out. What's the worst that could happen? So I walk up to the bar, I show them my ID, and instead of them looking at my ID and looking at the age and realizing I was only 20, they looked at my ID and they were like, "Wow, Alaska?" And so they were shocked that I was from Alaska. They'd never seen an Alaskan ID. They gave me my ID back. They let me in. When I got in, literally on the mic at that exact same time, performing is a guy named the world famous Tony Williams. And they're introducing him saying, "This guy's written and sang on all of Kanye's albums. He's been on every single Kanye tour, this and that, all this different stuff about him." And literally that day, I met Tony, got connected with Tony. I started helping him with his social media. And I connected with him. I told him, "Hey, I've run social media for other people. I'd love to help you out with your social media. I work with Warner Music Group, Atlantic Records, all these different things." And I wanted to connect with him. So he told me to go ahead and meet him the next morning. I met him that next morning. I explained to him why he needs social media and what's important about his social media, because he had pictures like backstage with Rihanna. He had pictures with Kanye's Red Octobers before anybody had them. He had like all these crazy pictures and everything on his social media, and he would have between like 2 and 12 likes on each picture. Crazy. So I met Tony when I got ditched. I met Tony a couple hours later, and literally within 24 hours of me meeting Tony, that next day he introduced me to. At the time he wasn't that big, but he was like, "David, this is Travis. Travis, this is David." Artist named Travis Scott. He introduced me to Virgil Abloh. He introduced me to Don C. He introduced me to uh, all these people that are, of course, now way bigger and super impactful in music and everything, but Tony's definitely been super pivotal. I literally was just hanging out with him 2 days ago, but he's been super pivotal and really a big help in every single thing that I've been able to do thus far. So definitely wouldn't be possible without Tony. But I feel like what's funny there is that oftentimes people will look at the situation and they'll see an unfavorable situation they get put into, and they'll just feel like something isn't in the cards for them. But I'm a religious person, and I feel like God does everything for a reason, and God puts you in every situation for a reason. And I feel like you just have to keep moving forward and keep looking for that next best option, and just trusting in God to try to find your way.
I like that. So you started in 2012 when social media wasn't that big. It was really no Instagram, TikTok. Wasn't really a lot of influencers. So what techniques were you using to help people back then, and how did you adjust to like the different trends in social media that we see now to help your clients?
So at the time, everything that we did was really on the has really been on the pulse of culture. So back then, initially, in like this is like 2011. Back in 2011, um, on Twitter, every single day we would wake up and we would follow 1,000 people, because that's how many people they would allow you to follow on Twitter. We would follow 1,000 people, and anybody that didn't follow us back, we would unfollow. Like we'd give them like 2 days, but every single day we'd wake up and follow 1,000 people. So with this being said, we were just getting exposure to tons of people's pages. So after we're getting exposure to all these different people's pages and everything, um, this is like a first market mover type thing, because back then like nobody was doing that at all, because people didn't understand the influence of social media. If you look at a lot of people's pages, even people that were pretty early on social media, like they'll say like account was started in 2008, account started in 2009, 2010, but I don't feel like Twitter was really like that widely adopted until like the 2011, 2012 type time. So with that, we were some of the first people that were doing that, and then we were doing that for our clients as well, and our clients were able to gain a lot of followers. Then after that, we would be utilizing trending topics to engage with our followers. So we were tweeting a lot, and posting a lot, and keeping people engaged and staying engaged. And with that being said, those same methodologies and those same things really held true on future platforms. Like even when you look at TikTok, which has been the most recent thing to really pop off in a crazy way. With TikTok, you have to look at with social media, you have to look at what the youngest generation is doing and what they're utilizing at the time. So on TikTok prior to the pandemic, like normal people weren't just using TikTok. Like it was really like young kids that were using TikTok, teens, but like normal influencers, regular people really weren't using it like that at all. But I started to hear about it, and so I'm talking to my team about it, and I was like, yo, like I feel like this is probably like the next thing. I don't know how it's gonna work yet, but this is probably gonna be the next thing. So I started to get on there, and I had people from my team get on there, and I was like, yo, I need y'all to start posting on here, start creating content, and let's just see what happens, because I feel like this could be um, another big platform that's going to be widely adopted. So with that being said, I just started to take my old Instagram stories, and I just cut up my old Instagram stories and put them onto TikTok, and I started to get traction. I started to gain followers. Then I started to I started to go on and take old clips from different things that I had done. I started to narrate old stories around my on my TikTok. And one day I went to sleep, and or like at the very start, it started to grow super slow. Like the very start, first couple months, I probably had like a couple hundred followers. Then I went from a couple hundred followers to like 2,500 followers in 1 month. Then one night I created a TikTok. I went to sleep. I woke up and I got from 2,500 followers to 50,000 followers in one night. And keep in mind too, this is before the pandemic. This is before things are popping. So then I started to tell stories about like my old parties and post these videos and everything. And I got up to like I had just passed 100,000 followers. I was verified on TikTok, and then everything changed because then the pandemic hit and everybody got onto it. So for me personally, like just like I was saying, like with not really doing these podcasts and everything, um, I'm down to post content. I like posting content and everything is cool. But when it's your actual friends and actual people that you know, it kind of changes your perspective and changes your scope, because then it's like what are my business clients going to think about this content? What are these people going to think about this type of content? What are my friends going to think about this type of content? Because I mean, the things that I was posting on TikTok, transparently, it was corny. It was it was corny content. It wasn't lit, but I didn't care because nobody that I knew was on TikTok. Like it was, I'm literally posting content, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna create. Like I created like a fake story talking about I made Rice Krispie treats for my crush, and I was gonna give her these Rice Krispie. Like I was literally just on there just saying anything and doing anything, and and I was gaining mad followers, and it was cool. But then when it was like people that I actually know in real life, people that I literally work with, people that I'm getting money with, follow me on TikTok, that's when it became not fun to me anymore. So I don't really post on there that much. But what I again, like with the moral of the story though is um especially with social media or with growing on a new platform, um if you want to win on a platform, you have to get on that platform before other people are on it. um then you have to be very active on it and really define yourself as one of those people that is just that's just using it. Like a lot of people win on these platforms and gain large followings just because of being in the right place at the right time. And um and I mean, like to try to gain a huge following on Instagram right now, when every single person that we know is active on Instagram and is on Instagram, you can post some crazy content and that joint could get no plays. It could get zero likes or whatever the case is. But if you're on a new platform, they're looking for new content. They're looking for new people to push, new things to push. So um, in addition to that, the thing that I'll tell people about right now is there's actually a platform that I feel like is slept on right now and it's underserved. And I've personally been putting a lot of energy into it. But I'm not saying to go follow me on there right now. But Snapchat, I promise y'all, this sounds crazy. Snapchat, it was up before, then I feel like people got off it. Now Snapchat has like their own ecosystem of people that they don't know you from any other social platform or anything, but Snapchat has been tweaking their system and tweaking how things work. And now with their public stories and with their spotlight feature, there's a big opportunity for growth and to gain a following on Snapchat. So um, again, I hope people that I know don't really follow me on there, but I've been having way too much fun on Snapchat because I can literally just be transparent on there and talk about everything and post everything from a day. Like this today, yesterday I posted 55 times on Snapchat, and I've just been steadily gaining followers on there, and that's the easiest platform to gain followers on over any other platform right now, Snapchat.
Speaking of followers, if you're like you said in the past when you had the $99 a month subscription to help people get more followers and they weren't like sticking with it because they weren't seeing the value.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you're saying like if you're pushing people to go to Snapchat or a certain platform, how do you get them to see the value of just having followers? Like, are you also teaching them how to follow those people to other places in order to convert them to clients?
So not necessarily, and that's the thing too. So that's a great question. So when you talk about being being an influencer, or how you're going to convert people, or how you're going to make money off of different things. So at the end of the day, I could be making nutty content talking about, hey, this is how I got my crush with making these Rice Krispie treats. But on that same token, people who I do like large brands or large companies could look at that and be like, yo, like this dude is a nut. Like we're not about to do a real contract with his agency because like what is he on right now? So I feel like depending on the platform, you can post different types of content, but um, but your social media is literally it's like a digital resume. So that's why on Instagram, I do things all the time. I travel all the time. I have tons of pictures, but I don't post anything on my Instagram, for instance, because a lot of my business contacts follow me on there. I don't post anything on there that isn't going to make a business contact more inclined to want to do more work with me. Like if I literally wouldn't want an executive over at Microsoft to see something, I'm not going to post it straight like that. Whereas on different platforms that are more obscure and aren't as mainstream, I can just post whatever. Like I can post like, yo, this is the place I'm going to eat. This is the t-shirt I'm wearing today. Whatever, this and that, because it's not just about business. But if that answered your question though, I feel like whatever type of clients that you like to get or however you'd like to monetize, you have to post in that way. In the same way they say dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. You have to post in a way that shows people like even like with acting. With acting, if you want to try out for the position of a baseball player, you're supposed to send in a headshot of yourself in a baseball outfit with a baseball hat on because people have to see you as a baseball player in order to want to hire you as a baseball player. So with that being said, I wouldn't want a company to look at me and be like, this dude is a nut, as opposed to, oh, okay, cool. His agency works with these companies, and these companies, and these are examples of their work. This is how things go. So that's why I have different posting styles on different platforms.
So when like people come to your Instagram and they are looking at your content, what what vision do you want them to see when they come across your content? Like, what do you want them to see?
That's actually a great question. So um the aesthetic that I have on my Instagram page right now is that I want people to see that 907 agency does good work. We do quality work. We work with major brands. We're celebrated by major outlets such as like the United Nations, Forbes, things of that nature. And in addition to all of that, though, in my experience, like when with working with Tony and when we were trying to work with other marketing companies or when we were trying to work with other brands or whatever the case is, one issue that we had a lot, and this happens in music and it happens in entertainment a lot, and 907 is definitely like in the entertainment and sports industry because a lot of our clients are. But one thing in that industry is that um, a lot of times people are uh, people are hurting for money. People are thirsty for money, and people will just steal your money. Like you'll pay somebody for a service, and they won't deliver that service, and they won't refund you. So another thing that I definitely want to exude on my page and on our pages as well is that um we're financially secure with or without any additional clients or any new clients. So um whatever services that we guarantee you, we don't need to steal your money. Like we don't need your money. So I feel like those are the important things that we have on there because again, like that's a big thing. People just say anything just to get some money, and they won't deliver. So and that becomes a problem.
When it comes to when you first started 907 versus what it's morphed into now, is it what you envisioned it to be, or are there still things you're trying to get it to turn into?
Oh no, 100%. There's still things that we're trying to get it to turn into. When first starting 907 agency, it was right after the Pablo tour ended, Ye's Pablo tour, and it that tour ended abruptly when we were out in Los Angeles. And when that tour ended, I had no college degree because I dropped out of college to go on this tour. But I had a crazy Rolodex. Like for years, I felt like I have the contacts in my phone right now to be a billionaire for sure. Now it's whether or not I'm going to be able to add value or do things that really make that possible. But I definitely have those contacts in my phone right now, no question. So with that being said, I didn't even know at all what I wanted 907 agency to be. However, the term agency is so encompassing in so many different things that an agency could be we could represent athletes, we could represent talent, we could create content. Like there's so many different things that you can do under the term agency. So that's why we started 907 agency in that way. Initially, initially we were working with entertainers and public figures and a number of individuals. And luckily, God willing, lately that's morphed into us having more opportunities with a number of major brands and major corporations. And we've had these opportunities and we've been doing well at these opportunities, knocking these opportunities out of the park. So it's been leading to more things. So even like back in November, we worked on our first campaign with Microsoft. Microsoft is the third most valuable company in the world. So I think it speaks volumes not only to Microsoft but to other companies as well that the third most valuable company in the world would see a minority owned agency that's owned by somebody under the age of 30. And it's not like Microsoft just did one campaign with us in the past 4 months. They were so happy with our initial work that in the past 4 months we've had 4 new projects with them. So with that being said, like the company's definitely growing, definitely getting more opportunities, and that's going to lead to far more things that we can do because with business as well, especially when you're starting off your own thing and starting off as an entrepreneur, a lot of things are a lot of things are that like nobody wants to be the guinea pig. Nobody wants to have to go first. Nobody wants to take that risk. But luckily, a number of these companies have taken those risks on us, and it's turned into repeat business with those companies. And other companies and potential clients see that and they're like, I mean, obviously these people continue to work with 907 agency because clearly something good is happening, great results are happening. So we'll give them a shot as well. So definitely see this growing into one of the major marketing agencies in the world.
And how has your role changed as the company has developed and has it grown? Like obviously, as you guys get more clients, and you probably, I don't know how involved you are with your, or if you have your team like delegate tasks. Like, is it hard for you as the company grows to delegate tasks, or is that something that's easy because you want to see the success of the company grow?
So early on, early on it was early on it was more difficult because when you're trying to start something off, you can't find a lot of other people that have the same passion that you have. Even like with the two of y'all, with y'all having this podcast right now, if y'all had a group of 10 people and y'all were like, hey, all 10 of us, we're going to interview somebody every single week for this podcast, do y'all know how many people would be like, well, I have to go shovel snow, or I have to go do this, I have to go eat, I have this, I have that. So at the start, when you're trying to build a company, when it comes to finding like-minded individuals, it's not that easy. So a lot of the times you do have to do your own thing and start off with your own thing. But I'm grateful that at the start it was just me building this company because it gave me the opportunity to really learn a number of different skills and get to implement those things so that now when tasks do come up that either I or my team delegates to different people, if something isn't working properly or if something isn't going correct or if I do need to step in, then I am able to step in and I am able to create results and I'm able to make things happen because at the start, started off with nothing, started off from nothing, started off literally having to do every single different aspect of the business from building websites to graphic design to seeking out new clients, business development to developing relationships, maintaining relationships, social media management, um, building campaigns, coming up with the ideas, executing those ideas, every single aspect of the business I've done before. So now and able to being able to now hire people that are very good at what they do um, has has really been good and it's just an opportunity for the company to grow and for us to work with more people and be able to focus on creating more good results that really help and shape communities.
I think knowing how to do all the skills that your business requires kind of keeps the integrity of the business because, like you said, people will tell you anything to get a gig or try to make some money and end up not fully delivering. So if you know how things are supposed to be done, you kind of can keep that in check and make sure things are done to the highest quality. But if you don't know how to do it, you don't know what it looks like and what it's supposed to entail.
And you're stuck.
Yeah. I have a question in terms of the agency term. So, like you said, it can include so many different services. So, can you give examples of what you have helped these big companies like Microsoft do with these campaigns? I feel like campaign is also a broad term as well.
It is a very broad term. Okay, so today is Sunday, March 26th. So Friday, March 24th, like this whole week, and it concluded on Friday, March 24th, we worked with Xbox wanted to build 10-foot tall replica consoles. So an Xbox Series S is probably like 10 inches or a foot tall. And yeah, it's like 10 inches tall. And they had us build 5 different 10-foot tall consoles. So we literally had to take their consoles and supersize them. And with that being said, we built literally scale 1-to-1 consoles, and I'll send y'all over some pictures and everything. But with these consoles, actually I'll pull up a picture right now. I hope that it lets me share it. 1 second. Oh, never mind. I can't share my screen. But so with these 10-foot tall consoles, we built these 10-foot tall consoles, and we took them to one of the biggest malls in LA, and people were there doing photo ops and taking pictures with them. Then we took them to we had them delivered to Venice Beach, and at Venice Beach we had our brand ambassadors out there, and we had a photo op where people were taking pictures with them there. And then 2 days ago, before the Lakers played the OKC Thunder, we had them displayed right in front of the crypto.com arena, like right across the street. And we had hundreds of fans out there taking photos with these 10-foot tall Xboxes that we built from scratch. And we had to make these Xboxes be we didn't have to, but in having foresight, it never even rains in LA. But this week we had like the craziest rain ever. Like we've literally been in a drought, had the craziest rain ever. So in building these 10-foot tall Xboxes, we made sure that they were weather treated, or they were treated wood. We made them very durable. We wrapped them in Lakers 75th anniversary branding. We did all these different things, and Xbox was super happy with the creation that we were able to make. So with that being said, now they want to do more work with us. Prior to that, we came up with like with the Los Angeles Kings, for example, the hockey team out here in LA. We we got them like with that, our whole contract with them and our whole goal is to help them get exposure to new audiences. So with this being said, we've come up with different events that we've been able to tap in with influencers out here in the LA area to get more visibility for the Kings. In addition to that, we've bought out some influencers to games that have then made TikToks that got hundreds of that, actually, excuse me, millions of likes and millions of views. And in bringing out these people and having these people activated our games and create content in our games, some of the things that we've made have gotten so big that literally the NHL as a whole company has literally reached out like, hey, can you get us in contact with these people that you're working with so we can create some content with them as well. So literally just like what we were doing back on Twitter, now we identify ways to get people more visibility and to grow their reach. And so we just do that through different mediums right now. So whether that's building something in real life or doing something online on social media, that is what our campaigns consist of. And so sometimes these brands will come to us and they'll say, hey, this is the idea that we have. Or sometimes a brand will come to us and say, hey, this is our goal. Can you all help us come up with an idea to reach that goal?
It was like you're like the ultimate problem solver. Like there's
Essentially.
no yeah.
No, 100%. Because earlier this week, in talking to one of the top people over at Xbox, we were having a conversation, and they were like, "Yeah, like we work with a ton of different agencies, and agencies get put into two different buckets, and one of those buckets is we can throw anything at you, and when we throw something at you, you can just figure it out." And they were like, 907 has been defining ourselves as one of the agencies that's in that bucket of literally being able to figure anything out. Because I mean, literally, if somebody went to a company right now and was like, hey, we need 10-foot tall Xboxes that look exactly like Xboxes, they light up all these different things, most people wouldn't even know where to start. And when they first reached out to us and they were like, hey, can you all build these? I want to say I responded back in like 5 minutes, and I was like, 100% cool, let's do it. And on literally on Christmas night, I flew from Alaska down to Arizona to work on a project that we had out there. And literally the subject of the email that Xbox had sent us was like, hey, we don't know if you guys can do anything with this, but if you can, please let me know what you can do. And so there was a Title I high school out there in Arizona that was underserved, and they had a field house that was being used for storage, and it was just filled up with I haven't even posted this on my page yet, nor have we posted this on the company page yet. But there was just a field house that was just being used for storage. Like they had like oversized tires in there, random fencing, random football equipment and everything. And they wanted us to renovate that space and turn it into a modern football field house, because Nike had already donated them. Nike and a number of different companies had already donated them an amazing state of the art turf field. So they wanted to renovate this field house, and they were like, "Hey, can 907 do anything with this?" And we were like, "Yeah, of course, 100%. We're gonna figure it out." So with that being said, we figured it out. We just made it happen. So yeah, I mean, it's for a company we just like to be a one-stop shop to where they can, if they have any type of super crazy idea or anything random, they can come to us and we'll figure it out. They don't have to look any further.
I think that's dope. What qualities would you say that you and your team have that allow you to be able to deliver on like any idea that comes your way? Is it like certain experiences that you want your employees or people that you work with to have that allows you to kind of be adaptable to anything? Like what qualities do you have?
Yeah, so with that, the main things are being resourceful, being problem solvers, and being hungry. Because at the end of the day, God created everything on this earth, and uh, we're given these we're given these opportunities to make something happen with it. If somebody can think of something, then it can be created. So, um, I mean, with that being said, we just it just all boils down to finding the right partners to be able to work with, or just finding the right way to build things. But um, literally just having that hunger, dedication, and the mindset that you can persevere, as opposed to looking at a situation like, oh no, we can't do this, or oh this isn't in our scope, or this isn't something that we can do. Those types of things, I don't believe in those types of things, and I wouldn't want to work with people that do believe in those types of things. But people that are hungry and want to figure something out by any means necessary, that's that's what we're looking for.
How do you screen that though? Because I feel like people can tell you, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to dig deep and do whatever it takes," but then when it comes time to do it, they don't they don't deliver on what they said they was gonna do. How do you screen that like initially, or do you give people like a test trial run to see, give them a project, see what they do with it, and then kind of go from there?
I mean, no, there is no test trial run, but on that same token, a lot of times you can you can test things out by starting people out with something small and then letting it grow from there. So initially, like the the company that we use to print our gear, our merch, and our t-shirts, for example, initially we started them off with initially we started them off with a batch of like 10 shirts that we had for our holiday toy drive, for example, and we wanted them to make these 10 shirts. They made these 10 shirts. They made the 10 shirts super fast. The 10 shirts looked good, and everything came out well. So on this last project, for example, we needed to embroider like tech fit sweatsuits. We needed to make t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, all these different things. We thought back and we were like, hey, we already built this relationship with this company that made these 10 shirts for us efficiently at a good price, and everything ran well. So that's who we're going to utilize for this. So yeah, I suppose like with the trial, we start people off on a small project or something small, and then we let the relationship grow from there. Because a lot of the times too, don't think it's all been smooth sailing and everything's gone well. A lot of the times people will say, "Hey, I can do this and that, and I can make all your dreams come true in this type of crazy way," and and then you try them out and then you're stuck. But literally, what would you, if you were working with let's say you were working with Apple, for example. Let's say you're working with Apple and Apple's like, "Hey, we want you to create a new design for the iPhone 15," and somebody came across you and was like, "Hey, I can make this crazy design for the iPhone 15." Like, what would you do? What would you do if they didn't execute, or they couldn't execute? Like, you'd just be stuck. So, with this being said, when we work on these different projects, we just try to develop these strong relationships with different vendors, independent contractors, and team members that we can count on and rely on. Because it's scary when people mess up.
What have you learned since working with these big companies, like being able to develop relationships or closing on deals? What have you learned from those experiences?
The main thing that we've learned um is really just how to present things to these companies. So a lot of these companies have been around for decades. And in order to get them to do something that's new or something that's different, you have to physically be able to show it to them. And to you all's point, and if you think about it, like literally what would make one of these companies be like, hey, there's this super random agency that we've never heard of before. Hey, let's give them a shot and let's work with them. Like that makes no sense. But if you're able to physically show them like, hey, if you all want to make these 10-foot tall Xboxes, this is exactly what these 10-foot tall Xboxes will look like when they're displayed in the exact space that you'd like to put them in. So we do a lot of 3D renders and we do a lot of graphic design that literally shows people exactly what they'll be getting. Or if we're pitching something for a digital campaign, for example, we'll use other data that shows them exactly like, hey, if you all create this type of content that highlights things that are happening in culture and Black people, if you all create this content, this is what other websites and publications have been creating, and this is what they've been doing, and these are the type of people that they've featured, and these are the number of impressions that they've been able to get on social media. So it only makes sense that if you all do this type of campaign to utilize these people, this is the type of impressions that you'll be able to get. So that's what I was missing on the business when I was first doing the social media company at the very start, is I didn't know how to articulate to our clients like, hey, this is what you're gaining out of this experience. Granted, you may not be making direct money, but this is what you're gaining. This is how you're winning. This is where your money is going. This is what it's going towards. Didn't know how to explain that before. Therefore, people would just drop off after a couple months. But now we're able to better define and better show people like, hey, when you spend money, this is going towards, and this is how it's helping your brand. So that's been night and day, and I feel like that's been one of the biggest things to help that transition from back then to now.
What would you say are a couple, like 1 to 2 traits that you had to develop through life and through this journey of entrepreneurship? Because you talked about like how you had to learn how to, show the value and show what they're going to get through the experience of working with you. Are there other skills or traits that you had to develop over the years that you feel like have been super helpful in your journey?
Yeah. So one trait, two traits, two traits. So, um, one trait is a lot of this stuff boils down to relationships, and it boils down to people being willing to give you an opportunity or willing to take a chance on you based off the other things that you've done in the past. So, one thing that I found to be very important is in building genuine relationships with people. I think it's very important to add value to people or help people out with something and not not expect anything in return. Like for example, like if it was like you're meeting with the client, so you're going to take that client out to dinner, and let's say that dinner costs like $200 or whatever. You can't take that client out to dinner and then expect like, or that potential client out to dinner and then expect, hey, because I'm spending this money on dinner, now they're for sure going to lock in with us on a campaign. Like if you go through life like that, and if you look at life like that, then you're just going to be hurt and you're going to be sick all the time. Like one of the biggest companies in the world, we've come up with some crazy ideas for them. I guarantee you we've had crazy ideas. I guarantee you they'd work, and I guarantee you they'd be award-winning campaigns, but they just haven't moved forward on it just yet. So so with that being said, we've been going back and forth with them for about 3 years trying to get a campaign started with them. But we're just we're not going going into any pitches or meetings or anything expecting too much. Like it's just like, hey, if it works out, then cool, it's gonna work out. And if not, then I understand it's not gonna work out. So number one, I'd say to put yourself in the right situations to be able to excel, but not to expect anything from anybody or not to expect anybody to do anything for you or throw you a bone or anything. Like I just look at all those things as a bonus, and it's just cool, but not to expect anything from anybody. Number one. Number two, as an entrepreneur, I believe that you have to be prepared to lose everything but hope. With that being said, I mean, literally anything can happen in entrepreneurship. Anything could happen with starting your own company. Things could go wrong. Things could fail. You literally have to be prepared to lose everything but hope. and your belief in God and your belief in yourself to be able to create things and make things happen. I think those are the two main traits.
That's real. That's real. I didn't know where you were going to take that, but I think that was fantastic.
I mean, because
What?
even too on that same token, when you all created this exact podcast right here, did y'all think that, okay, cool, we're gonna wake up one day and this podcast is gonna have 1 million views an episode? Is that what y'all were thinking?
No.
Like, what were y'all's thoughts when y'all went into this? Like, what were y'all's thoughts? What were y'all's goals? What were your hopes?
Well, we was talking about like we just wanted to highlight the world outside of PT because we're both PTs, and we were like we see a lot of PT podcasts, but we don't really see stuff about the business, the health, the lifestyle aspect of that. So we wanted to highlight that and show what's possible in the PT world. Didn't have a number of episodes that we wanted to hit, didn't have a number of views that we wanted to hit, but we thought it was a element that was missing in the PT world. So we wanted to try and fill that gap with this.
Got it,
I
got it.
also think that like because we know so many people in our field, I think it's easy to get those guests on the podcast. But then when we're stepping outside of like the healthcare realm, it's a little harder to get people on. And so it's kind of like a shot in the dark. So we're not really expecting people to like be like, hey, yeah, I'll come on. Like I think we have to think we know that we have to give them some type of value. So I think being able to not expect things, but just try to help people in whatever way we can. And then if they come on, great. If not, it's fine too. Like just be consistent is the only thing we were expecting to get out of it. But it's turned out pretty good so far.
100%. That consistency has to be there. 100%. That consistency has to be there.
Yeah, and then sometimes they're gonna be like, this person be cool to be on the podcast. I'd be like, yeah, let's hit them up. But we don't know what's gonna happen, but it's worth a try. You know what I mean? We can only shoot your shot and then see what happens.
And that's the thing too. A lot of people feel like, okay, cool. I'm gonna start this business. Things are gonna work out right away. Oh, they're not working. They didn't work this month. They didn't work next month. They didn't work the month after that. All right, cool. This isn't built for me. I'm not cut out for this. As opposed to, I mean, even this timeline that I've been talking about, for example, since 2011 until now, 2023. I mean, 12 years in, finally started to get these huge clients and everything. But a lot of people will quit after a couple months. 12 years as opposed to a couple months is a big difference, you know? So with that, I mean, I feel like even like with what you all have going on with any entrepreneur, as long as you stick with what it is that you're doing, stay dedicated and stay mad consistent, I feel like the potential is there to make it pop.
Sometimes people say that like business is about, and I agree with this. They say business is not about necessarily about talent. It's more so like having endurance, like emotional and mental endurance. Because a lot of times things aren't gonna pop off when you want it to. If you stay at it long enough or stay consistent with it long enough, it will happen. Because the more you show up and people see you, you kind of become top of mind.
100%. No question.
All right, as we couple more questions before we let you go for today. 1 to 2 things you want listeners to take away from today's convo.
1 or 2 things are if you want to do something or if you want to create something, go ahead and start it. And you have to stay dedicated to it and you have to stay consistent. Number one. Number two, a lot of the times when people try to start things or people want to go do things, like whether somebody wants to go travel or whether somebody wants to start a business or whether somebody has an idea, a lot of the times I see people are like, oh yeah, I wanted to do this project or I wanted to do this business or I wanted to do whatever. But I'm waiting on my co-founder. I'm waiting on the other person. I'm waiting on this. I'm waiting on that. In my opinion, I feel like people should, if they have an idea or they have something they want to do or they have somewhere they want to go, they need to go ahead and get started and do it themselves. And after you build it, they will come. Those are the 2 things I would say to take away.
And then knowing everything that you know now, what would you tell young David?
So I've always, like I said, having a sports background and always being competitive and everything, um, I've always had a strong level of belief in myself and in the people around me. So I personally wouldn't change anything at all. Like I wouldn't even want to wake up and be anything different. Like I wouldn't even want to wake up and be a billionaire today. Like I wouldn't I literally actually that's what I would just say to when this entrepreneurship thing became way more fun for me was when so many things started to go wrong that I realized and I look at it and I was like, no matter what happens in life, there's ups and there's downs, and no matter what it is that you're doing. I don't care if you're playing a basketball game and your team is killing the other team is still going to score some points. So there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. If you look at musicians, if you look at entertainers, if you look at the stock market, things always go up, things always go down. What I've learned and what I've focused on a lot is that you have to learn to enjoy the process. You have to learn to enjoy the process, and you have to be able to prepare for the downs and the ups at the same time. Like you just have to learn to enjoy that ride because in knowing that even when you're as down as possible, you're always going to go up. That helps you to really keep the faith and keep the confidence in yourself. And in knowing that even when you're super up, things are obviously still also going to go back down. I think that helps you stay humble as well. So um, I think that really just learning to enjoy the journey and enjoy the process is something that's very important. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
All right, and then last one, any book recommendations or things that you've enjoyed reading that you would suggest to people to get into?
Yeah, so two books that I recommend to almost everybody: How to Win Friends and Influence People, and The 48 Laws of Power. So I've always cared about people a lot, and I've always valued relationships with people. But until I read those two books, other people couldn't tell. Other people couldn't necessarily feel the love that I had for them. But in reading those books, it showed me that just because I have love for somebody or just because I appreciate somebody, doesn't mean that I'm putting it out in a way that they can accept it or they can appreciate it. So after reading those books, it definitely taught me how to better communicate with other people and how to better resonate with other people and help other people to feel how I felt about them. So I always recommend those two books to everybody.
All right, we're gonna add those into our list because we've been working on a book a month that we've been reading through together to try and level up the pod, but also ourselves as people to help the people that we're trying to serve as well. So we've been on this. We're on like book three. Like Alex, you know who Alex Hermosi is?
Mm-mm.
He's like one of these like big business people who like takes people's $10 million businesses and turns them into $100 million business. So he has a book called like $100 million offer, and that's what we're going through right now, just working on our own offers. So we'll probably we'll add those two to our list also to work through. But no, David, if you don't got anything else, we really appreciate you taking the time to come on the pod and chat with us today. Where can people find you if they have questions or want to see some of your work?
If y'all have questions, DM me, Instagram, Twitter, at Alaska. My TikTok is also at Alaska. Um, I don't use that as much, so don't DM me on there. But tap in with me on those on Instagram and Twitter and the website 907 Agency for the company. So 907agency.com. But I really want to thank you all for giving me this platform, giving me this opportunity, for even taking time to reach out to me as well and to ask me these questions and to do you all's research and everything because y'all definitely came prepared. So I really appreciate y'all for taking the time to speak with me today. And it's been a blessing to be on here.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
No problem. It was great. All right. Catch you guys on the next episode.
Sure. Thank you.